Hi everyone, this is Linda, and so at request, I'm doing this video real quick. It's about using Create in order to do the tree here and also to do the angel. It's using the feathered satin. So we're going to use draw to create the shape for a guide, and that's all it's going to be used for. Learn about using the feathered satin and the column satin. That's while we create almost everything there. There's some line stitches and a couple of other little things. Software needed is you need to have Ultra. Everything is being done in Create. Now, if you have a Mac, it's going to be a little bit different, but that I don't have a Mac, so you'll have to put up with my Windows. Again, cardstock, stabilizer, 100 by 100 hoop, metal or standard, embroidery thread, bobbin thread, 75 or 80 embroidery needle, sequence, or a button. And so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Create. And so we're going to get that little pop-up window that's going to ask us all kinds of questions of what do we want to do. And I'm just going to start a new design with no picture. We're going to do next, and we're going to go to make sure we're going to the draw window. We're going to do next, 100 by 100 hoop, change hoop if you need to. We're going to do finish. So I'm now in the draw window, and so to do the tree, basically all I did was I created a couple of different shapes to get me to where I wanted to be. So I'm going to do that pretty quickly. I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to find a half moon shape. And it's number 15. And I don't care whether it's filled in or not. All it is going to be, it's going to be a general guideline. And I want it about 2. That works pretty good. We're going to box select. We're going to move it into place. And again, it's just going to be an outline. So I'm just going to go this. And actually, if you change the grid squares to this so that it's 5 instead of 10, we're going to go view. We're going to do 5. So then you can kind of see it. It's about 3 tall, which is what it is. So we're going to go back to the Draw tab, and then we're going to select it, and I'm just going to do Duplicate, and I'm going to drag one up right on top of that. And again, this is just a guideline, and I'm going to drag it in again, and I want it in here just a little bit, and then I'm going to duplicate, get it close. I'm going to make it smaller. And I'm going to duplicate again, put it that again. It is just guidelines. These are not going to be what it ends up actually being. It's just some way for me to kind of see where my lines need to be. So when I did that, and approximately 5 of these will probably work just about right. I'm going to do a duplicate again. And if you want less, you can do less. And as I got taller, I kind of squashed them together just a little bit. Again, I'm going to grab that and I'm going to drag that in like this and drag it in like this. And then I'm going to use a super design for the star. So that's okay. So I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go to the Precise Create tab, and I now have that in my background. It gives me something to kind of work with. The first thing we want to do is do the bottom part of our tree. So I'm going to make sure Pattern Fill is not selected, and I'm going to come over here to Satin Column. So with Satin Column selected, I'm going to start clicking, and I'm going to click, and I'm just kind of creating, and it doesn't matter how close these are right now because you can mess with it. When you get a few there, you're going to hit your right mouse button. I need to change the color. So I'm going to change that to a brown. Double click over here. I'm going to change that to a brown because that's my stem. I'm going to right mouse click again. Now I could change the shape of this and kind of have it come in just a little bit. Or I could kind of have it go like this. I can do about anything I want. But I don't want it so heavy as what it really is right now because it's too thick for cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a right mouse button when that's selected, and I'm going to change that to like a 10. So it's going to really loosen those stitches up a little bit. Maybe that's too much, but that's going to be your personal preference of what you want to do. So then the next step is going to be adding in the feathered satin for the branches. Okay, so with my satin column created, what I need to do is I need to get so that my first stitch right now what's going to happen is if I start to stitch this, it's going to stitch over here and it's going to stop here, and then it's going to create this jump to come here, and I need to stop that from happening. So I've got running stitch selected. I'm going to click on create area or line, and see where that purple dot is? I'm going to actually click there, and then I'm going to click to the center. That's going to just create a little tiny jump stitch, or a little tiny couple of stitches, just so I don't get this big huge jump. And I'm going to do a right mouse button. So now it created that running stitch. So now I need to do my feathered satin going up. But first let's change our color. And I'm going to go to the green. And it doesn't really matter which green it is. And again, these are just guidelines. So I'm going to go pick on feathered satin. I'm going to go to, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do a right mouse again. So the first thing I want to do with my feathered satin, I'm going to actually change some information about my columns. So I'm going to click on column and I'm going to go to feathered satin. And the stitch length, and this is the largest stitch length that it will do for each of my steps, which is okay. The density is already set at 15. I only want side B to be flat, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So I've got that selected, and I'm going to start to click. And I know that I brought this over here a little bit, so I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to click here. And actually, I'm going to move that in a little bit closer, and I'm going to come out this way, and I'm going to, again, click close, there, close, and then to the end, and do a right mouse button. See what happens? Very cool. So now what I want to do is, because I now need to do this other side, I'm going to get a stitch, and I'm going to draw it across here. So I'm going to create area or a line, and I'm going to go from here to the center, and a right mouse hit. And then I'm going to click on feathered satin, and I already set my information here. So again, I'm starting here. I'm going to go here, and I'm kind of go over to the left just a little bit. I'm going to come back over here and just a little bit here, here, there, 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 and out here, and right mouse button. Again, I stopped out here. So now what I want to do is, again, running stitch, create liner. And I'm going to take and I'm going to bring that in to the center here, and right mouse button. So I've kind of got this little space, but I want to get some changes. I'm going to do a little bit of changing here. So I'm going to do a right mouse button again. And I can actually, I want to go pick on that feathered satin, and I might change some of this just a little bit. I might bring this down just a little bit and this in just a little bit. And it really just kind of depends on your personal preference of what you want to do. And I kind of want this to kind of come down and maybe not be out quite so far. Again, that's just a guideline back in there that you're working on. So I'm going to move this out, because what's going to happen is I'm going to create the stitch to come up here again. Make sure my last one is selected. I'm going to do a running stitch, create area or line, and from this point I'm going to go straight up here, and it's going to put that other line in there for me. So now what I want to do is I'm going to do the same process. Feathered satin, starting here, go here, just to the right of that, and over, and again just to the right, over, just to the right of this, and over, and a right mouse button. Again, I'm going to pick on create area or line, and I'm going to actually come from here to here, and right mouse button. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go feathered satin from here, and I'm going to come up here, and this just kind of becomes a repeat of everything over and over and over again. Right mouse button. I need to get from here to up to here. So I can do this kind of as a continuous line here. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here in the center, and I'm going to come up here. You notice I'm kind of ignoring trying to make the changes. I'm going to come back and do changes later. But I just wanted to kind of move this up. So I'm going to pause this a little. I'm going to just go forward and keep going. So give me a second. Okay, so I'm at the very last one. So I've got running stitch selected, create area or line. I clicked here, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to come up here so that where I put the star, my stitches will end really close there. So I have that done. I'm going to right mouse button, and I'm going to go through each of these and kind of mess with them a little bit. So let's start with the very first one. And this one I can kind of mess with just a little bit. You're not going to mess with a whole lot because it's kind of the basis one. It's the one at the bottom. And I maybe not want the, oh, I need to make sure I'm getting the right piece. And I maybe not want that out quite so far, and now I'm on to the next one, and I kind of want to straighten these out, and maybe make this kind of come down a little bit. Again, this one just down a little bit, and you're just going to mess with these until you kind of have them the way you want them. It's not that difficult to do it. It's just taking the time to do it. So that way they kind of all run together. And the top one up here, get this one here on the right. And when you're doing this, you need to make sure you get at least 6 points. It makes a big difference when you're doing it. So now this one is kind of looking a little skimpy here. So let's go and mess with this one a little bit here. Okay, so let's look and see what that looks like. Oh, I'm not sure really I like what's going on up here. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on this one and I'm going to maybe make this star out just a little bit. It's really a matter of going in and just playing until you kind of like what you have. So the very last thing you're going to do is you're going to add in the star. So I'm going to make sure I'm on the very last thing. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go insert a super design and I want a star. So I'm going to do a star and enter. And the one I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to do insert, and it's going to be way too big, so I'm going to hold my control key and just kind of make him a little bit smaller. And set him about here. Now he's kind of heavy, so right now it actually calls for a metallic thread, but I'm not going to do that. I just used a regular old gold thread. But I want to do a right mouse button and a right mouse button again because I need to change that density, and I'm just going to change it to about a 5. And I can actually change the angle a little bit if I want to. I'm just going to leave it like this, but I can also, you know what this is for? This is for changing the way things kind of look, and I'm going to, oh, got to grab the right spot. So I can actually change that a little bit like this. Now, what I can do is I'm going to go and I'm going to select all and kind of move them up in the screen. I can also get rid of that drawing now, and now I have a pretty good idea of what this is going to look like. There's a couple of things I might make some more changes on. Like right here, you see this line right here? And let me zoom in so you can see it. So what that is that's that straight stitch that I was moving. So let's do a right mouse button, click on this area, and see I need to move these down just a little bit. So it kind of covers that line that's going in here. It's that extra little piece that I'm doing so that we have fewer jump stitches. So you just kind of have to mess with those a little bit. I'm going to click on this one and I'm going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to make sure that we're not messing with too many things in here. I'm going to maybe move that up just a little bit. Again, just play with it, and it's just a matter of figuring out where you want those points to be. Again, oop, I don't really like this in here, so let's go figure out how to get that one so that one's a little bit straighter there. And you just keep kind of going until you get it where you want it. Again, I don't like this one here. I'm going to change that a little bit. I'm going to change this one just a little bit. Believe me, this is going to be so small, you're hardly even going to see this stuff. Again, whoop, there's one I want to maybe change. Slide that down a little bit, slide that down a little bit. Maybe slide this one up a little bit. Again, just play until you kind of like what you have. And you could do some different things. You might make this a little bit smaller and this one a little bit, or one a little bit smaller and one a little bit bigger. And let's go drag that in here like this. And I maybe make this in just a little bit. It's all a matter of just playing until you get what the effect you really want. I'm going to slide that in just a little bit. Let's see what it looks like now. Oh, not too bad. That one's just a little bit too big yet, but you see what I'm trying to do here. So now what you want to do is you want to save your EDO file. So you're going to do a save as. You're going to save your EDO file, and then you're also going to do your export and put it your VP3. And that's all there is to making the tree. It's really not difficult. So I'm going to do the angel next. Okay, so to do the angel, it's pretty simple too. So we're just going to start a new design with no picture, do next, do the draw window, do next, 100 by 100 hoop, finish. And then basically I'm just going to create myself some guidelines. I'm going to look for a triangle, and I'm going to draw my triangle. Now, there's two different ways. I like to do it from the upper left-hand corner. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to create her skirt. So there, or his skirt, whichever. And so that's basically what that one is. And I'm going to kind of make sure he's in the center here. All right, I can duplicate that. And that's going to be the arm. So I'm going to take and I'm going to just, gotta make sure it's selected and rotate it. And I don't need the arm to be quite so big, or wing, and set it kind of in here. And now I'm going to duplicate that, put it on this side, and I'm just going to flip it. And the rest I can kind of draw as I need to. So I kind of have a general guideline for doing this. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to Precise Create. I'm going to make sure nothing is selected over here in pattern. I'm going to go and I'm going to do the skirt first. So I did that one more of as a satin column instead of as the feathered. I started to do the feather and then I didn't like it. So what I did is I'm going to choose satin column. I want to make sure I'm sorry, I chose the wrong one. My column here is satin column, and I want to make sure that the density is about a 10. It's really personal preference. Don't have anything in zigzag or edge walk selected. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start selecting, and I'm going to start here. I'm going to go here. And now this one's a little bit trickier. I'm going to come down just a little bit, and I'm going to come over here and do a right mouse button. Okay, so it's not quite what I want, and it's probably a little bit thicker than I want. The other thing I want to do is kind of mess with these a little bit. I'm going to do a right mouse button. I'm going to change that to like a 15. So it's a little less dense. Now, I wanted it to kind of have an angle like this. So I'm going to grab my corners. And now I need to do these. And those I did want to do. Now you're going to end up with a jump stitch. It's because this one ends up down here. But you could do the line. I'm not going to for this. I'm just going to do the feathered satin this time. And I'm going to now start up here. So I'm going to start here. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to come back, go to the center, come back and out, and do a right mouse button again. And I just want to kind of mess with these a little bit. And I really need this to come in a little. I didn't want it quite so drastically out there. And again, I can actually do a duplicate. So I can do a Control D or go home and do duplicate. Actually, if I do duplicate, and yep, you have to do it that way. Sorry, Control D doesn't work here. And I can do box select. I'll put a box over here, and I'm going to bring it over to this side. I'm going to do a click on there, and I'm just going to slide that baby into place. So now I need to do her head, and I need to do the halo. So pretty simple. I can do that a couple of different ways. I just chose to go into Precise Create. I do very little in Quick Create, running stitch. Actually, I made it a double stitch, create area or line, and I'm going to just start clicking, and I'm going to kind of draw her head. Now remember, it doesn't have to be perfect because you can finish it and do it any way you want to. And I can actually mess with this a little bit. And then I need to do the halo. So then I want to do, again, I've got create. So I want the head to be a different color. So I'm going to click here, click on right mouse. I'm going to insert a color change, and I'm going to actually put in like a peachy color for the head. And then I'm going to do the halo. Make sure here, color change. I'm going to go and do a gold, do okay. And this time I kind of want to do it to be a little bit more of a satin. So I'm going to do satin column again, and I'm going to do again. And I'm going to start it. And if you feel better drawing this first, you can do that. And I'm going to go, and I'm just going to kind of go around in a circle. And again, not perfect because we can always make changes as we need to. Right mouse. Okay, so obviously he's not very good. So let's just kind of mess with this a little bit. And I don't want that halo to be quite so heavy. And of course, if you remember your art class tells you if it's closer to you, it's going to be bigger than if it is far away. So you might make the top part just a little bit more bigger than the edges. And again, you're just going to keep messing with this until you kind of have it where you want it. Maybe have this just a little bit too low. So I just kind of keep messing with this until I get it where I kind of want it. And I want to do a right mouse button because I want to make sure that the density is set for about a 10, which is about what I want, because I don't want it too heavy again. And again, just keep messing with it until you get it kind of like you want it. So we can kind of come up here and preview it a little bit. I actually think I want to get it closer to the head. In fact, when I really did this the first time, my halo was actually just a halo all by itself, and it just was sitting out there. And I kind of wanted it closer to the head. So again, it's going to be your personal preference. I think her arms are a little bit too big, so I'm going to bring them in just a little bit. Again, bring her arms in just a little bit. That's maybe just a little bit too long still. You can watch it sew out if you want to. Cancel. And then what I did is, because of I wanted to put something here in the center, I actually made this kind of a little bit so it didn't have my stitches kind of all going on top of each other. So then I was able to put that little piece of sequence right here, and you could put a little button, you could do about anything you wanted. And that's basically all there is to it. Don't forget to save your EDO so you can bring it in and do it again. Make sure you export it. And that's all there is to that angel. It's pretty simple. Hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I see some samples. Make sure you post them on our page at the Linda Stitchens group. You need to answer some questions in order to join it, or you can actually post them on to some of the Premier+2 Facebook pages. Thanks.